Hi friends, I just wanted to walk you through some of the materials that you have in your folder for math. If you've not watched the Khan Academy videos about fractions, you need to stop watching this and go watch those videos, because I am not making a whole lot of teaching videos about fractions because the ones on Khan Academy are pretty good. And so if you cannot get on Khan Academy, you need to call me and we can work that out. Or I can find a way to get more information to you. But assuming that you have watched those videos, this is going to help you with Wednesday's work, which is 14.2, Understanding Equivalent Fractions. So you should have this piece of paper in your folder. I want you to cut it. See where there's scissors here? You're going to go and cut this into a bunch of strips. So when you're done, you should have this: a whole, halves, fourths, and eighths. Then I want you to shade 1/2, 2/4, and 4/8. So go ahead and do that. Get your crayon out or your colored pencil, and I want you to shade 1/2, 2/4, and 4/8. And I will write it down so that you know what that looks like. I want you to do 1/2, 2/4, and 4/8. It will look like this. You're going to do 1/2, 2/4, 4/8. And let's talk a little bit about the numerator and the denominator while we're here. If you look at your 1/2 and your 1/2, you'll see that the number on top, which is called the numerator, tells you how many parts you're dealing with. The number on the bottom, the denominator, tells you the total number of parts. So in this strip, I have two parts, right? This part and this part. So that means the bottom, my denominator, is going to be a 2 because I have two parts. Here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. So my denominator is going to be 4. Do you see that? Then this little square is only 1 out of the 4 parts that I have, so I put a 1 in the numerator. This little part is only 1 out of the 4 parts that I have, so I put a 1 in the numerator. The denominator stays the same. That's because it's telling me how many parts this one part came out of. We've got 4 parts. These 4 parts come together to make one whole. But here they're divided into each of their single parts. Look down here. I have a whole that's been divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 parts. So that means my denominator is going to be 8, right? Because I have 8 parts. The denominator talks about the total number of parts that I have. This little box here is just one of those parts. So the numerator is going to show the 1. Just to remind you which is the numerator and which one is the denominator. Okay, so let's go back to what we were doing. You're going to shade the fraction 1/2, 2/4, so 1/4, and another 4th, 2/4, and then 4/8. So that means you're going to shade 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. I'm going to go ahead and do this for you guys. I got 1/2, I'll shade it in, 1/4, and then another 4th, which means 1, 2, 2/4. Then I've got 1/8, and another 8, which makes 2/8, and another 8, which makes 3/8, and another 8, which makes 4/8. Okay, what do you notice? Oh, I need a bigger screen. What do you notice about the length of the bars that represent 1/2, 2/4, and 4/8? You should notice that they are about the same length. You've got a 1/2, which is about the same length as 2/4, which is about the same length as 4/8. Do you guys see that? We don't need this piece right now. So we're talking today about equivalent fractions, and equivalent fractions are fractions that name the same parts of the whole. 1/2, 2/4, and 4/8 are equivalent, which means they're equal to each other, equivalent fractions, because they're naming the same parts of this whole, right? This is half of the whole, which is the same as saying 2/4 of the whole, which is the same as saying 4/8 of the whole. These are just different fractional ways we can write it. They're equivalent. Now, 1/2 and 2/4 might not be equivalent if they were coming from different wholes that were of different size. But here we know that the wholes are the same size, and so that's how we know they're equivalent fractions. Now, if